Good morning. So this last week I had a really unique clinical experience that I want to share with you. So 2 days ago, I actually got to shadow a anesthesia nurse practitioner. Not a CRNA, an anesthesia nurse practitioner. And it was super cool, it was super different. So basically, let me give you the setup. So, this is like the first semester of clinical, so they're letting us get kind of a well-rounded experience and seeing what's out there. Now, this lady worked at my old hospital down there at Le Bonheur, and she worked for the anesthesia department, but she's not a CRNA. Her job is basically pre-op, high-level pre-op. What she does, now this is the cool part to me about nurse practitioner and what's different than being a bedside nurse, is that she doesn't have to like kill herself to do her job, and she gets paid really well to do it. It's like you jump over from when you go get, like, so I was a paramedic first. As a paramedic, you kind of just show up and you operate, you leave. As a nurse, I feel like they try to squeeze every little bit of productivity out of you, whether it be teaching a class, monitoring this, doing a report, whatever it is. They kind of like squeeze every little bit they can out of you, and it's your job to say no. Well, then at the nurse practitioner level, they're still trying to get everything they can out of you, but there's like a less like squeezing. There's less of them trying to take advantage of you. Why? I don't know. But that's what it feels like so far, because you get a lot more free stuff, you get a lot more opportunity, and it might just be because you do have that higher level of education, and they know that, hey, you are smart, and you can go somewhere else. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but let me tell you about this person's job. She works 4 days a week. 4 days a week with a rotating off day. She works 10-hour shifts. Her job is in the morning, she gets in there and she works in the OR and around the hospital. Her job is to basically be the feeler for the anesthesiologist so that there's no surprises once we get back to do the procedure. So, reviewing labs, going through the medical history, seeing if there's anything that we might have missed on the front side. And you're like, well, any nurse could do that. Kind of. I kind of see what you're saying. But the difference for her, she works directly with the anesthesiologists, and she orders the labs and the tests. So, like, let's say she finds a murmur on a patient. Well, she knows that they're going to want an echo before they do this elective procedure just to cover all their bases, because this might be the first time they've ever been in the hospital. The other day when I was on the clinical, we were going through there and you're like, what kind of surprises happen before pre-op? Well, these add-ons of like traumas and stuff that can come through the OR for debridements, for drainage washouts, that kind of stuff. You don't know what you're going to get. There hasn't been a lot of time to kind of screen them beforehand. So we go in there and we're walking through there, and there's this patient that's going in through for something like that. And she starts talking to him. And it's like, I don't want to give all the back history because I don't get in trouble. But basically, something's happened. We're going to the OR. What's your history? He's been beat up. He don't really know. Call the mama. Mama starts talking about how he's got a heart history. He's got a seizure history. He was a preemie. All these things are going wrong. When we moved to Tennessee from Texas, or from Mississippi from Texas, wherever they're from, that they just didn't get a neurologist when they came here. They just didn't do it. You asked why? Well, we just didn't find one. So he didn't take a seizure medication since then. Does he have seizures? Well, he doesn't really have any problems anymore. You're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So then you have all of these issues that pop up pre-op. We still have to figure out if we can do it or not. And that's her job. When these problems pop up, that's her job. So from, I think she works 7 to like 4 days a week. Maybe 4:30. 7 to 4, 4:30, whatever it is. She goes in and she does all this pre-op stuff for the stuff that was added on today. And that's her morning, basically just checking the stuff that we didn't know about yesterday. Well, then the second half of her day, after she catches up on charting. Oh, the other thing about her job, when she does that pre-op stuff, she goes into a form that's the anesthesiology form. And she puts in all the stuff. It's supposed to be a one-stop shop for the anesthesiologist or the CRNA to go, okay, so we've touched all our bases on this. She goes through all the reports and brings all that information into one solid form for the procedure. That is the kit and caboodle of her job. That is the thing that makes her so valuable, because she condensates. You don't have to go looking for the information. It's all right here, and we're good to go, or we're not good to go. Or we still have to do the procedure, but these are the things we need to be aware of. All right there, all in front of your face. Now, she gets paid well to do it. that's her morning. She puts all that form in there. Then the cool thing about her job is that she doesn't just do that in the OR, is she goes to where the patients are. So the very beginning of the morning, you've got patients getting ready to go into the OR. So they go into the pre-op area. She'll catch a few there. She will. And that's what she did. She caught like 2 patients there. They got brought up or brought down from their rooms. And we called them there and we did our stuff there. Well, then there's other procedures that are happening later and they don't have them in the pre-op room. So she then goes to the floor. So she got to go down to the ER, to the ICU, to the NICU, to a floor, just finding these patients, doing the screening, getting it all together, and then also talking to everybody, which I think it's just such a cool, flexible job because she goes and is the literal feeler, right? Then, okay, so come back, lunchtime, catch up on your charting, whatnot, and I'll tell you what, there was no stress on this job. It was like, I don't know, it was so different. It was so different than what I'm used to. I've never been a part of any kind of clinical experience like that because she's not a manager. She's an independent practitioner. Yes, she's responsible for things, but she's not responsible for other teammates. She is like her own solid being. I mean, it was such a cool, unique thing that you don't see as a bedside nurse. I mean, I've literally been in the room when someone just like her has come in and done her thing, but that doesn't give you a whole picture of what her job is. And honestly, like a day of clinical doesn't give you a whole picture either, because I'm sure there's a lot of negatives that I don't see. But I saw enough. Anyways, after lunch, then, okay, so you do all the stuff for today. You go catch everybody, make sure everything's up to date, all the charting's good. After lunch, you go in there and you go start hitting all the ones for the next day. So all the admitted inpatients that are going to be having procedures for the next day, you go and catch those. And she's not the only one that does this either, because there is a lot of procedures going on, right? So she's one of a team, I think, of 5 or 6 nurse practitioners that legitimately just go and screen, make sure everything's together, order the labs. They're the investigators to make sure nothing pops up. Because when you've got, like the other day, she said that for a long bone fracture like a femur, the anesthesiologist is going to want a H&H already done and a type and cross or a type and screen done. Preferably type and cross because it is such a large bone and you can have such big blood loss. The person that schedules the procedure is not the anesthesiologist, it's the ortho doc. So the ortho doc schedules the procedure and he's only thinking about, okay, I got to fix the bone, so I'm going to need all the supplies to do the bone and then we're good to go. His only concern is the bone, and rightly so. He shouldn't have to be concerned with the patients being stable throughout the procedure up to a point. However, he's not going to order that H&H. He should, maybe, but that's not going to be his prerogative. So let's say that he didn't, and that the nurse practitioner wasn't there. That patient would go to the ER, or not go to the ER, go to the OR, get there, the whole team would be ready, they'd all have all the supplies ready to go, then the anesthesiologist would say, hold on, we can't start yet because we don't have an H&H and a type and cross match, because what if we lose too much blood? And rightly so, it is a safety concern. But we could have already done that. The anesthesiologist didn't have time to pre-screen all this stuff, to be quite honest, they didn't, because they were doing the procedures for the previous day. Their role is not to necessarily do that. Their role is to make sure that everything's safe when they do their job. And without the nurse practitioner going and doing that stuff, they wouldn't have that option. It's such a unique and cool thing that I didn't realize was a job. But the things that I like about it is that you're important. Number one, you are important, but it's such a low level of stress on your position because everything's preemptive. Most of it's preemptive. You know, sometimes they're playing catch up when it's like, oh, we got to go and do. You know, we got to get moving. We're behind. Things are coming in. We got to go. But the majority of it is to alleviate that kind of thing right there where you know you're going to need all this pre-stuff for a procedure and it hasn't been done. They're the person to find that, to grab it, to fill that need of making all those people in the ER, because you've got so much staff and so much resources, you don't need to be holding it up. This one person or these 5 people grease the wheel of that right there. Grease the wheel of all the preoperative stuff, all the labs and stuff that we need to make sure we're done before we even get into the OR. They're the ones that are responsible for that. And there's weird stuff too that goes along with procedures in anesthesiology, like muscular dystrophy. They always ask about genetic stuff, muscular dystrophy, stuff that's going to change how your body reacts to anesthesia. And it's interesting stuff. It really is. I mean, there was, what was that? there was a disease or some sort of genetic thing that came through the other day, and she's been doing it for like 17 years. She was like, hey, I don't remember what that has to do with anesthesia, but I know, red flagged in my mind, that this is something that changes how we administer care. So they had got this big book, and they go back there, and they look it up in the genetic stuff, and they're like, okay, so this genetic malformation, or whatever you want to call it, means we can't give, I think it was succocholine. And I was like, whoa, you wouldn't know that unless you know that. And that is why this job's important, because you don't know what you don't know. I, as a nurse, wouldn't know that. Anesthesiologists might, but if it wasn't pre-screened and they didn't have the time to ask about it, if the patient's already under, or whatever the scenario is, they might not have a chance to know it. These people are important for that. And it's, I mean, when I first was there, my initial reaction, I was like, this is kind of a joke of a job. Honestly, it was, because you're not working hard the way that I work hard. Because, like, as a bedside nurse, I run dialysis, I've been in the ER, you're running, you're physically demanding, your brain is demanding on the job. With this, it was not as intense. It wasn't just bang, bang, patient after patient, trauma, dialysis patient. There was just, it was steady, it was consistent, but it wasn't overwhelming at any point. And that is the thing that got me. I was like, it wasn't overwhelming. Because I'm going to be honest, if you're out there and you actually work in it, no matter what your job is, it gets overwhelming. It does. But with this, it just had this relaxed feeling of like, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It felt good. And it's nice to know that that kind of job is available and it is out there. I don't know what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be quite honest with you. But that right there makes me go, there's some good stuff. Because you know it's going to pay better for an 8 to 5. Because that's the thing with nursing. You can make great money as a nurse, but you're going to be working 12-hour shifts, weekends and nights. You're going to be doing that kind of stuff. There's no way around it. That's why I'm in nurse practitioner school, to make, just honestly, not much more money than the weekends and the night stuff. More still, don't get me wrong, but not much more, to get a great schedule. A great schedule that has more flexibility, and you're not getting run into the ground. And to open up those opportunities to be able to do the pre-op stuff, to be able to work in a clinic by the house and help my community, to be able to maybe even get into the OR and assist. I'm not a first assist, but small procedures I could help with or do. Nail bed repairs. Who knows? I got a buddy that does ortho that does that. But all in all, super cool clinical experience to be able to see that there is a nurse practitioner role that is relaxed, it is important, and it serves such a cool function. It pays well, it does good things. Oh, no weekends, no holidays. Come on, guys. Come on. Pays well, does good. It's awesome to know that's out there, and that's a position. Not a CRNA, but a anesthesiology nurse practitioner. All doing the pre-op stuff. I'm sure there's some post-op stuff here and there too, but majorly it's pre-op. Hey, Loganites, remember, I need you to like and subscribe and share this with people. There's not that many people actually watching my adventures through nurse practitioner school, and I get it. It's not for everybody, and I hope that you get something out of it. If you do, legitimately, like it and leave me a comment. Leave me a comment that I know that there's you're actually watching this to this point. Please. Remember, Loganites, always keep your corn on the cob.